Hey, Warrior Saints, good morning. God bless you all. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. This morning I want to tell you about my friend Martin. I don't know Martin's last name. Martin doesn't even know my name. I don't know where he lives. I don't know his phone number. I've only seen him once. It was for about 90 seconds, and I don't know if I could ever find him again. I don't know if I saw him right in front of me, if I would even know that was my friend Martin. But about a year and a half ago, Martin did something very important for me. I was driving on Greenway and 32nd, just a couple of miles from here. And I was just in traffic, and I see a man running across the street, running across the crosswalk, and he's waving, he's pointing to the bus. The bus had reached its stop, and you could see it. He just was close. He was going to miss the bus. And as he sticks up his arm to call out for the bus driver, closed the door and drove off. And he left him, kind of melancholy about the whole thing. We've all seen it happen. Something happened to me. It wasn't me. You guys know I'm not much. I'm nothing. But something overtook me. And in the middle of Greenway, I flipped a U-turn. I pulled over. Now, I don't know who this guy is. I pulled over and I rolled down the window. I'm like, get in. He's like, who are you? Like, I'm not getting in with you. I said, we're going to make that bus. So he's flustered as much as I am. He jumps in the car and I said to him, what's your name? He said, Martin. I said, Martin. Now, I didn't have my collar on, nothing. He knows nothing about me. I never gave him my name, nothing. I said, where's the next stop? He said, it's on Greenway near 38th Street. I said, great. So, I'm weaving around. We get past the bus. I felt like giving the bus driver a dirty look as we went by because come on, man, stop for the guy. So all of a sudden I get to the bus stop and I park and I stop right in front of the bus stop. So as he pulls up, there is no way that bus is getting around me until I know Martin's on the bus. So sure enough, he jumps out. He's like, thank you so much. And I'm like, go. And he runs out and he gets in the bus and that was it. And I flipped another U-turn on Greenway and got back on the freeway to head home. Now what was funny about it was literally probably 90 seconds entirely, in its entirety. I didn't think about it. I'm not a good person, so I don't really often do good things, but Martin did something for me. Martin made me recognize something about, I knew I had done the right thing. I didn't even think about it, but I knew I had done the right thing. I knew that somewhere within me, there was this God-likeness within me that was just screaming to get out. And at that moment, it came out. And I felt really good about it. I felt like I was supposed to be. I felt like I was supposed to feel. I felt great. I really felt great. And like I said, I'm never going to see Martin again. If he was sitting in the front pew right now, I wouldn't know what he looked like. I don't remember, right? But at that moment, I felt great. And I think all of us have that desire for greatness. I think all of us have that greatness within us. It's residing within us. And it's locked away sometimes for some of us, way down in there. And we've got to find a way to unlock that greatness. To unlock that which God has built us with, which God has established us with. And to do that, we have a couple of things to do. One, we have to walk on the way of the warrior saint. We're going to talk in a moment about today's point on the way of the warrior saint. But we also have to be mindful that the world does not want us to do that. The world does not want us to be great. The world is really looking for different things. Really, if you want to be honest about it, the world is looking for mediocrity. And it's telling us to be like everyone else. To be like everyone else. Just to be like everyone else. And the world does that by telling us to focus on ourselves. You know what the world does? The world tells us to be mediocre. The world tells us to be like everyone else by creating mirrors. Creating mirrors. You know what a mirror is. You look in a mirror and what do you see? Yourself. You look in a mirror and you see only yourself. It is inward focused, focused on I. And everywhere we go, you can see if you open your eyes and watch, the news media or your social media feeds or commercials or advertising or even the conversations that we have with other people, you can see that all of the things of the world are trying to push inward on myself. Focus on, it's a mirror. But this morning, Christ God tells us something very, very different. Christ God tells us a different way, a better way. And it comes to us in this beautiful story, this absolutely stunning, powerful story of judgment. You know, today in the Orthodox Church, we call it, you may hear it, Meat Fair Sunday. It's the last day that we can eat meat before the fast begins. But it has another name. It's called the Sunday of Judgment. And the gospel comes from Matthew 25, verses 31 through 46. And we all should know this by heart already. At this point in our lives, we should know it by heart. Because what God says, what Christ says in this, is that when the Son of Man comes back to judge, when he's coming back to judge people, he's going to do so and sit on his throne. And he's going to separate people, sheep and goats, right? Now the sheep are the good ones. We know that. The sheep are the good ones. The sheep are, part of the flock. The shepherd takes care of them. They all kind of move together. They're one big, sheeply tribe. But the goats, they're the bad ones. Goats are kind of gross animals anyways. Like they run off on their, like goats eat anything. You can't even chain a goat to the fence because it can eat the metal of the chain. Goats are just, they're goats for God's sakes. And the goats are the bad ones. And the way that the Son of Man, who is seated on the throne to judge, decides who is a sheep and who is a goat is by their outward focus. And we hear this great passage from Matthew 25. And he says, "Come on, sheep, come in. Because you fed me when I was hungry, you clothed me when I was naked, and you visited me when I was sick, you came to me when I was in prison." And they say, "Well, wait a minute, Lord, when did we see you? We didn't see you sick or hungry or thirsty or naked or alone or in prison and go to you. What are you talking about?" And he says to them, "When you did that to the very least of my brethren, you did it to me." Right? And so what he said to them, what the judge, the king, the Lord said to them was, when you behave like that to someone else, it's like you're doing it to me. And the flip side of it is, he says to all the goats, "Get out, because you didn't feed me when I was hungry, and you didn't visit me when I was sick, and you didn't give me to drink when I was thirsty, and you didn't clothe me when I was naked, and you didn't come to me when I was sick and in prison." And they ask the same question. Whoa, hold on, Jesus, before you kick us out. We didn't see you like that. You're the king. We would never have done that. And he says, well, when you didn't do that stuff to the least of my brothers, you also didn't do it to me. Which is saying to us, what Christ is telling in all of this, and I think it's clear, we have to know this. What Christ is saying is, when you look at the brother, especially the one who is in need, it is though you are looking at the Lord himself. And none of us, not a single one of us would ever see Jesus standing here in front of us and see him hungry and not offer him bread. We wouldn't do it. Not any of us would see the Lord standing here thirsty and say, "Oh, I'm not going to give the Lord a drink." We would never do that. But Jesus is saying, I want you to look outward. Forget your mirrors. Look outward. Because when you look at the other guy and the other girl who is hungry and naked and thirsty and alone and in prison and needs visiting, if you ignore them, it's just as bad as if you ignore me. That's what Jesus says. That's what the gospel is about today. And those who do not ignore the other, those who are outward focused, are the ones who listen to the reward that they got. He says to the sheep, "Come in and receive the kingdom that was prepared for you." Right? They received not gold, not riches, not power, not fame, not joy, not happiness. The kingdom that was prepared for them. And likewise, those who didn't do that stuff, those who didn't look at the other and take care of the other, those who were so busy and interested on their mirrors, they received eternal punishment. That's what it says. It's a nasty word. Matthew's tough at this point. It's a really harsh part of the gospel. It's tough, right? And so the judge is saying to us, the kingdom is prepared for those who are willing to be outward focused. Those who are willing to be inward focused and make sure their mirrors are nice and shiny and cleaned and Windexed. Look out, right? Now, so we all know this. Every year we read this gospel 2 weeks before Lent starts, and every year we all know it, and every year it becomes one of those things where we know it in our minds. We even know it in our hearts and in our guts, but we don't always do it. And so this morning, I want us to think about some very specific practical ways to do that. Because though it is beautiful for us, any one of us, to be like Mother Teresa, who left everything in the world and moved to India to help people who are actually orphans and suffering and starving and alone and naked and thirsty and all of those things. And to be sure, some of us are called to that. Maybe even some of us in the church right now are called to that type of a ministry. But at the same time, it doesn't always have to be so extreme and so dramatic. We can find ourselves serving brother, serving sister in very simple little ways. And it happens to us every single day. So here's what I want us to do. Here's how I want us to think. Every single day when you get up, every single day, starting tomorrow morning. Well, you can even start today if you want, but at least start tomorrow morning. When you wake up, say, today I'm going to do at least one thing to be sacrificial, nay, crucifixional, so that I can help serve another person. And you may have an awful, terrible boss or coworker or employee who does nothing but annoy you, who's always in the way, always asking questions that you know that they already know the answers to, or who's throwing unnecessary burdens upon you. And our response, it boils inside sometimes, that vitriol, right? I got to get them, right? But perhaps we might show that person just one brief little moment of love, one little moment of compassion, where I'm willing to sacrifice my own ego to build up another person. You know, guys, at the end of the day, I mean, it's rough, especially those who work. It's brutal. I mean, look, if you're the guy that has to work with those people, you come home and you're fried and you're cooked and you don't want to talk and you don't want to think and you just want to sit there and be. But there's a child who's been at school and fighting that whole fight every day, and they want to talk to their Baba. They want to talk to their dad. So make time to talk to that child. Sacrifice yourself just a little bit to have a conversation. Not just, how was school? I mean, those are good questions, right? But to talk to the child, see what he thinks. What does she think? What do they see? How do they see the world? To actually have a real conversation with your spawn, who you gave birth to, right? Have a conversation with them. Be real with them. And fellas, remember too, there's a woman that's been there all day fighting that fight also with those little monsters. And that woman may need adult conversation and an opportunity just to, talk about things that are not school related, or Dora the Explorer, or all the sports that we have to go to and all the rest of that. Is Dora even cool anymore? I don't know. All right, it was when my kids were kids. But you get the point. There's a woman there who needs you. Talk with her. Be with her. Put yourself aside to be mindful that there is another human being there who has need. It's not extreme like someone who's starving to death. But if you can't do the little ones, there's no way you're going to have it in you to do the big ones, right? So let us all start. The other part of it, too, for the kids, I think about our high school and grade school and even the littler ones. I want to so I'm going to speak to all our students right now. I know that very often you think your parents are annoying. Probably we are, right? But I want you to know something that never ends, by the way. It doesn't end, right? All right, I'm a priest, I'm married, I have my own house, my own wife, my own kids, my own parish, all that kind of stuff. And my mom is still my mom. Like, it doesn't change. Do you understand? But maybe we, as the students, can sacrifice ourselves also a little bit for those people, right? Those people who are giving us their lives every single moment of every single day to provide for us. We can say to them, I'll sacrifice a little bit. Why can't you clean up your room without being asked? Why do they need to nag you to do your homework or to take a shower, right? Maybe you can sacrifice a little bit yourself for the sake of the other. It's not just about adults for the kids or the kids for adults. It's about all of us. All right. With that being said, here's the real call to action. I said it, and I'm going to say it again. Each and every day, each and every single day that God gives you to breathe and to wake up and to get out of bed, arise by making the sign of the cross and thinking to yourself, today, I'm going to serve a person. I'm going to be crucifixional in my own life so that I can serve another person. And it may be big. You may end up being the next Mother Teresa. And it may be small. that you show love to your father and mother and wife and husband and coworker and boss and friend and to some stranger on the street and to Martine. So that when the Son of Man comes once again to judge between the quick and the dead, we might at least have some semblance of a defense to stand before him and say, "O Lord, I tried to be one of the sheep. I didn't want to be one of the goats. And I tried to be a sheep by loving you when you were in need, in and through the other person, because I was outward looking." May our great God and Savior, Jesus Christ, give to you in your hearts this point on the way of the warrior saint today. Bless and keep you to always walk in new life. Amen.